Hey, John. Hi, Anise.
Hi, Chris. How are you?
How are you doing? How's your little guy?
We are doing okay, but tired. I just got back from the hospital with him, so today.
Send him prayers and positive thoughts and
Thank you.
all that. And we're thinking of you guys.
Oh, it's tiring. And the thing is, until now, the doctors, they cannot explain what's going on.
That's the worst.
Yeah, they
I'll
can't.
certainly keep thinking about you guys. And if you need anything, please call. Please reach
Thank
out.
you. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Ed,
Hi, niece.
How are you, Ed?
Good. I'm thinking
Thank
of you.
you.
Yeah, of course. How's your family?
We're doing okay. We're still in a bubbles because we don't know what's going on. So,
I'm
and
praying
the
for you.
doctors that's supposed to give us answers, they do not have answers for us. So, thank you.
Yeah, of course.
hi, Director.
How are you, Council President?
Good. I can always tell it's you. It sounds like you're calling from an airplane.
I'm just flying around.
Yeah, your phone line's very noisy.
Well, we got construction going on in front of City Hall, so,
That doesn't help.
no.
Okay. Madam Clerk, do we have a stenographer here?
I don't see. Oh, is this, maybe this is it.
Hi, if you're in the room for stenography, please raise your hand. If you're on the Zoom call.
There I am.
How are you?
Good.
Good. I didn't want to start without you.
No, I was hoping I'd pop up somewhere, but I had to
All right.
raise my little hand.
Do you need some time to get ready or are you good?
No, I've been writing the names down as we go along, as you've been popping up, so I'm all set there.
If we go too fast and you need something, just yell at me and we'll,
All right, I'll start waving my arms.
there you go. That'll work. Madam Clerk, are you good?
Yes, I am. I'm
All right.
just adding Councilwoman Vargas.
Okay. All right. Welcome, everyone. I'd like to call the Monday, April 26th Cranston City Council meeting to order. Clerk, will you please take the roll?
Councilwoman Marino,
Present.
Councilman Ferry,
Present.
Councilman Mazzulli,
Present.
Councilwoman Vargas,
Present.
Councilwoman Jermaine,
Present.
Councilman Donegan,
Present.
Councilman Riley,
Present.
Council Vice President Brady,
Present.
Council President Paplaskas.
Present. Okay, I'd like to entertain a motion to dispense with the reading of the minutes of the last meeting.
So moved. Second.
Do we have any discussion? There being none, clerk, please take the roll.
Councilwoman Marino,
Yes.
Councilman Ferry,
Yes.
Councilman Mazzulli,
Yes.
Councilwoman Vargas,
Yes.
Councilwoman Jermaine,
Yes.
Councilman Donegan,
Yes.
Councilman Riley,
Yes.
Council Vice President Brady,
Yes.
Council President Paplaskas.
Yes, thank you. Moving on to public acknowledgements and accommodations. We have none. Moving on to Roman numeral 2, public hearings and public comment. Public hearings are now open. This is for anybody from the public on the call that would like to talk about a docketed item. Time limit's about 4 minutes on that. If you are here and would like to speak on an agenda item that will be voted on this evening, please raise your hand or hit *9 if you're on the phone. I see Mr.
Douglas Doe.
Douglas Doe. Mr. Doe, good evening.
Good evening,
Name and
President,
address.
council members. Douglas Doe, President of West Bay Land Trust, 178 Lippert Avenue. I just want to thank the council for adding the language to ordinance 3-21-5, specifically on line 28. You added, or protected conservation areas, lands and trails within the city of Cranston. We've had a lot of problems out here recently, specifically on Late Night Road and Burlingame Road with ATV riders doing some serious damage to conservation land. Hopefully this will put an end to that, or at least make them think twice. We hope to raise the fine to $1,000 for violation of conservation land, but apparently that's not possible. So I'm not sure if the new language on lines 55 and 56 is actually necessary, since there's already a civic penalty of $500 mentioned in line 54. It seems a little superfluous. So I want to take a look at that. Again, thank you again for adding the language for conservation areas. And that's it.
Thank you, Mr. Doe. Thank you very much. Anybody else from the public like to speak on a docketed matter?
Daniela Fairchild.
Hi, my name is Daniela Fairchild. I'm with Rhode Island Commerce, and I'm hoping that this is an okay time. I wanted to share about the state's small business relief grant program that we have available and make sure that the council members were aware and that you could share as needed with the local business community. This is a program that is for $5,000 grants to support small businesses in Rhode Island that have that took in less than $1 million in gross receipts and sales in 2020. There are just a couple limitations on eligibility here. So childcare providers and real estate businesses are not eligible, but other than that, all other industries are. And you just need to be able to show that you had a net need. So either a loss between 2019 and 2020, or a level of COVID-related expenses greater than $5,000, and you should be eligible. The application is available at commerceri.com/relief grant. And it's open on a first come, first serve basis. So the applications are open through Friday, but we're getting some really great interest for the program. And so we wanted to make sure that folks knew about this. And if anyone in the city would like to apply, please encourage them to apply sooner rather than later, because it is a first come, first serve application.
Thank you, Ms. Fairchild. Normally, we would have saved your comment for out of non-docketed items, but you were kind of on a roll there. So we let you go. Did you give your address for the record?
My address, I'm actually in Riverside, Rhode Island. I'm not in Cranston.
Okay, the stenographer needs it for the minutes.
Great. It's 11 Jackson Ave in Riverside, Rhode Island.
Okay, thank you. Really quick, any questions for Ms. Fairchild?
Through the chair?
Yes.
Yes, Council President. I just had a question. I believe there's a presentation from Tomas Avila tonight, who's the Special Project Advisor to Commerce RI. Are you part of that presentation this evening as well, ma'am?
I am probably out of order entirely then. So I'm going to pause. I'll let Tomas jump in and we can,
Awesome.
whenever he's in
Okay.
order.
All right, thank you.
Hang tight. We should be with you shortly. Thank you very much. Okay, anybody else to talk on any docketed items, ordinances that are going to be voted on this evening?
Council President, I don't see any hands raised.
There being none, I will close this portion of public comment. Moving on to resolutions. We have a resolution of the City Council urging the City Council to recognize April as Celebrate Diversity Month, sponsored by Councilwoman Jermaine.
Motion
Councilwoman?
approved. Second.
We have a motion and a second. Councilwoman?
Thank you, Chairman. This resolution come up after a research when my fellow Haitian American that celebrate India on state as well, because April is declared since 2004 as Celebrate Diversity Month. And as we know, in our city, there is a huge demand of diversity. And when we talk about diversity, it's not only diversity where we have Black and white and Latinos and people of color. It's a diversity in many areas where we have a community that is represented, LGBTQ community. We celebrate our elderly. We celebrate people with disabilities. So those are part of our diversity that make up our fabric as a city. So when we celebrate racial diversity and identity diversity. So that's why I come up with this to show how we celebrate cultural differences, how we celebrate gender identity, how we celebrate racial identity in our city. So I urge you to, vote for this resolution, and we can set up to really start our tradition, celebrate diversity in our city.
Thank you, Councilwoman Jermaine. Council Vice President Brady.
Thank you, Council President. Councilwoman Jermaine, I thought that was very well articulated, and I appreciate your continued advocacy over the last couple of months. And just from you starting on council, I think you've been a great addition to, spreading this communication, continuing to collectively bring us all together, working together with a group, and just kind of learning more. So as I sit back and listen and continue to learn, I think it's a very important initiative, and I'd love the opportunity to be added as a co-sponsor if you're willing.
Thank you. Yes, definitely.
Thank you, Council Vice President. Any other comments? There being none, I'll just say thank you to Councilmember Jermaine for bringing this resolution forward. I'd like to be added as a co-sponsor as well, if it's okay. And I do see more hands up now. Councilmember Vargas.
Thank you, Council President. Thank you, Councilmember Jermaine, for bringing this before the resolution before the City Council. As mentioned, absolutely agree with you. Diversity is about inclusiveness and not just about the Black, Latino, Indigenous, but absolutely with everyone LGBTQ community, folks with disability overall, and definitely the city reflects that. So, with that being said, I would also like if you would allow me to be part as a member of the co-sponsor of this resolution as well.
Definitely. Everybody can be on it. It's together to make change, to celebrate together.
Okay, thank you. I really appreciate that. And can I just ask a quick question? I'm sorry, I should have probably even spoken to you offline on this. Is on the resolution itself, is there any way that you would be open at all where I can just add a quick motion on there, which would be just on line 20 where it says to support Black, Indigenous, Latino, and people of color? Would you be open at all to add and LGBTQ community
Of course, yes.
added on there as well? And
Yes.
I'm not sure how to word it correctly. I know this is very sensitive. So if somebody would like to, correct me, please do so. And people with disability, I just don't know how to say that correctly. I know, so I would like to add that if possible to line 20 to 21. It actually moves things along the line. And I'll put that in the form of a motion, please.
Sure.
We have a motion to amend line 20. Do we have a second?
Second.
Under discussion?
Council President, can we have the exact language? Or?
Yeah, sure. I can say that if you'd like. And so it would be, whereas there is a national effort to support Black, Indigenous, Latino, people of color, LGBTQ plus community,
People with disabilities.
people with disabilities, and people with disabilities in the quest for representation in the decision-making process and to reduce the racial wealth gap.
Madam Clerk, did you get that?
I did.
Okay, thank you. We have a motion and a second on the floor. The motion is under discussion. Any discussion on the motion to amend? There being, Councilmember Rizzulli, do you have a question on the motion or on the overall bill? Or
No,
is-
I was just going to speak on the overall bill, but I guess I could say it here. It doesn't matter really where I say it. I was just going to,
Go
no, I'll
ahead.
say it after. Go ahead. It's
All
fine.
right, so if there's no discussion on the amendment, I will take the roll. Clerk, please take the roll.
Councilwoman Marino,
Yes.
Councilman Ferry,
Yes.
Councilwoman Renzulli,
Yes.
Councilwoman Vargas,
Yes.
Councilwoman Jermaine,
Yes.
Councilman Donegan,
Yes.
Councilman Riley,
Yes.
Council Vice President Brady,
Yes.
Council President Paplaskas.
Yes. Now discussion on the resolution as amended. Councilmember Renzulli?
Thank you. I similarly to what Councilwoman Vargas proposed, it was similar language that I was also going to propose. And thank you, Anise, for bringing this forward. And I would also like to be added as a co-sponsor. Thank you.
Definitely. Yes.
Thank you, Councilmember. Councilmember Brady, see your hand up? Is that from before?
That's from before. Thank you, Council President.
Thank you. Councilmember Ferry?
To the chair, Councilwoman Jermaine, I would be honored to be added onto that if you'd let me.
Definitely. Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember. Any other discussion on the resolution as amended? Councilmember Marino?
Thank you, Councilwoman Jermaine. Echo the sentiments of my colleagues, and if I could be added as a co-sponsor, that'd be great. Thanks.
Thank you.
Yes.
Any other discussion? There being none, clerk, please take the roll on the amended resolution.
Councilwoman Marino,
Yes.
Councilman Ferry,
Yes.
Councilwoman Renzulli,
Yes.
Councilwoman Vargas,
Yes.
Councilwoman Jermaine,
Yes.
Councilman Donegan,
Yes.
Councilman Riley,
Yes.
Council Vice President Brady,
Yes.
Council President Paplaskas.
Yes. Okay, moving on to report of committees. We have the Finance Committee. I think Councilmember Brady had to step away for a minute, so I will go to Vice Chairman Robert Ferry for the Finance Committee.
Okay, thank you. On the agenda tonight, we have 5 items to vote on that were all passed in committee. I guess we have to do them separately. So first, we will look at the ordinance ratifying the school committee's collective bargaining agreement with the Cranston Teachers Alliance Local 1704 AFT Paraprofessionals Unit, September 1st, 2018 to August 31st, 2022. I'd like to entertain a motion to approve.
Motion to approve?
Second.
We have a motion and a second before us. Any questions on 3-21-03? And I believe we have Mr. Crudale from the school department if there is any questions. There being none, clerk, please take the roll.
Councilwoman Marino,
Yes.
Councilman Ferry,
Yes.
Councilwoman Renzulli,
Yes.
Councilwoman Vargas,
Yes.
Councilwoman Jermaine,
Yes.
Councilman Donegan,
Yes.
Councilman Riley,
Yes.
Council Vice President Brady,
Yes.
Council President Paplaskas.
Yes.
Okay, next we have a resolution authorizing real estate tax abatements that was passed in committee. May I entertain a motion to approve?
Motion to approve?
Second.
We have a motion and a second.
Any discussion?
Any discussion on the real estate tax abatements? Hearing none, clerk, please take the roll.
Rose, please take the roll.
Councilwoman Marino,
Yes.
Councilman Ferry,
Yes.
Councilwoman Renzulli,
Yes.
Councilwoman Vargas,
Yes.
Councilwoman Jermaine,
Yes.
Councilman Donegan,
Yes.
Councilman Riley,
Yes.
Council Vice President Brady,
Yes.
Council President Paplaskas.
Yes.
Next, we have a resolution authorizing motor vehicle tax abatements. May I entertain a motion to approve?
Motion to approve?
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion on the motor vehicle tax abatements? There being none, clerk, please take the roll.
Councilwoman Marino,
Yes.
Councilman Ferry,
Yes.
Councilwoman Renzulli,
Yes.
Councilwoman Vargas,
Yes.
Councilwoman Jermaine,
Yes.
Councilman Donegan,
Yes.
Councilman Riley,
Yes.
Council Vice President Brady, Council President Paplaskas.
Yes.
Okay, as we continue, we have a resolution authorizing tangible tax abatements that was also approved in committee. Do I have entertain a motion to approve?
Motion to approve?
Second.
Second.
Is there any discussion? There being none, clerk, please take the roll.
Councilwoman Marino,
Yes.
Councilman Ferry,
Yes.
Councilwoman Renzulli,
Yes.
Councilwoman Vargas,
Yes.
Councilwoman Jermaine,
Yes.
Councilman Donegan,
Yes.
Councilman Riley,
Yes.
Council Vice President Brady,
Yes.
Council President Paplaskas.
Yes.
And last we have, do we do interest waiver approvals? No. Next is tax interest waiver approvals, which was also passed in committee. May I entertain a motion to approve?
Motion to approve?
Second.
Is there any discussion? There being none, clerk, please take the roll.
Councilwoman Marino,
Yes.
Councilman Ferry,
Yes.
Councilwoman Renzulli,
Yes.
Councilwoman Vargas,
Yes.
Councilwoman Jermaine,
Yes.
Councilman Donegan,
Yes.
Councilman Riley,
Yes.
Council Vice President Brady,
Yes.
Council President Paplaskas.
Yes.
And last we have tax interest waiver denials, which passed in committee. May I entertain a motion to approve?
Motion to
So
approve?
moved.
We have a,
Second.
we have a motion and a second. Any discussion? There being none, clerk, please take the roll.
Councilwoman Marino,
Yes.
Councilman Ferry,
Yes.
Councilwoman Renzulli,
Yes.
Councilwoman Vargas,
Yes.
Councilwoman Jermaine,
Yes.
Councilman Donegan,
Yes.
Councilman Riley,
Yes.
Council Vice President Brady,
Yes.
Council President Paplaskas.
Yes. Thank you, Vice Chairman Ferry. Moving on report of committees, we have the Ordinance Committee. Councilman Matthew Riley.
Thank you, Council President. From our meeting of April 15th, 2021, there were 3 ordinances that were passed for approval tonight. The first being for a stop sign at the intersection of Baldwin Orchard Drive and Russet Way in the motor vehicle and traffic ordinance. And it passed in committee, merging passage tonight. Thank you.
Thank
I'll
you.
entertain a motion.
Do we have a motion on 3-2101?
Motion
Second,
to approve? Oh, okay.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion?
Clerk, please take the roll.
Yep, actually, Chris, I got something.
Yep. Councilmember Marino.
Sure, thanks. That was pending a traffic report. I'm just wondering, was that done?
I didn't see it. Leanne, is it in the
I
file?
haven't received anything.
No.
Uh,
Chris, what do you, Council President?
I mean, we can pass it pending the report if it's, I mean, we don't have to pass it. We can continue it one more month and see if the traffic engineer will issue a report. If he doesn't, then we can just pass it without a report. We are statutorily supposed to give him 90 days to complete a report. So it's up to us. We don't have to wait the 90 days, but we should. So if you want to continue this one more month, it's up to the sponsor. Councilmember Donegan, I see your hand up.
I was just based on the last 2 years. I think from what I can recall, is we usually give it a month, and if it, we get it to the full council, and if it's not there by the full council meeting, kick it to the next one, and then if we don't have it by then, we usually would take a vote at that point. But I think we usually gave them at least one kind of 45 days or so.
Councilman Rowley, is this the first full council this has appeared at?
It is, Council President.
Okay.
I see that as being reasonable to give him one final date.
Okay. Just whoever did the second, if they want to withdraw their second and their motion, we can do a motion to continue.
I withdraw my second.
Okay, I'll entertain a motion to continue to next month's full council meeting.
So moved.
Second,
All right. Any discussion? Madam Clerk, can you follow up with traffic engineer Mulcahy and just see if he's going to be able to get this to us for the next meeting?
Yes, I
A
will.
reminder. Okay, thank you. Clerk, please take the roll.
Councilwoman Marino,
yes.
Councilman Ferry,
Yes.
Councilwoman Mazzulli,
Yes.
Councilwoman Vargas,
Yes.
Councilwoman Jermaine,
Yes.
Councilman Donegan,
Yes.
Councilman Riley,
Yes.
Council Vice President Brady,
Yes.
Council President Paplaskas.
Yes. Councilman Rowley.
Thank you. Moving on to the second ordinance, the riding of mini bikes, presented by Council President Paplaskas. I'd like to say a few words.
Yeah, first I'll entertain a motion on this.
So moved.
Second.
Sure. I'll be very brief. We discussed this in committee. This strengthens the law that we have on the books regarding mini bikes and ATVs on public roadways. It also adds a clause to protect conservation land, where we've been having issues in the city on protected lands and trails. So same set of rules, whether you're on a trail or on the roadway. Hopefully this will help, especially with the issues we've been having up in the trails. So I urge passage. Any other discussion? Councilmember Donegan.
Thank you, Councilman, and I appreciate the work that went into that's done on this. I know, I think we've all heard plenty from constituents about this issue, and so I appreciate you bringing this forward. Is it, I guess, to you, Council President, or to the administration? My sense is this is largely based on something that's established in Providence. Is that like the seizure and forfeiture, that aspect of it?
Yeah, it mirrors what Providence has on the books. I know Solicitor Malay put in some work into this. I was working on an ordinance that kind of mirrored Johnston. And then when I found out Solicitor Malay was working on it and had some language from Providence, but this ordinance before us mainly copies the process of forfeiture, et cetera, is from Providence, where it seems that they've had success with it in the past.
The only, I guess I had two questions. One is the eluding police officers. Is that already against the law? And I'm not questioning what you're doing. This is just my, out of naivete.
So that's a great question. I can answer that. That's actually a clause that Johnston has that they found useful. I talked to an officer over there, and that was something that they had. Because sometimes if you're on a state road, it gives a municipal court a little more authority on those type of tickets. So that's why that's in there. So it's worked. That part of the ordinance is copied in Johnston.
Okay. And then the only other question I have is about the and if it's line 112 through 114, the proceeds going directly to the police department. The only concern I have is that, well, I mean, we just came from a budget meeting, and if we're talking about where revenues are going, I feel like that should be more discretionary on the council. And at least in the 2 years I've been on the council, we've steered away from, if there's something that might generate revenue, that you don't earmark it directly in the ordinance and that it goes through the full budget process. That way there's a little bit more oversight from the council. If this were to pass as is, with that money going directly towards the police department, would that be reflected in the budget? Would that be, would there be a line item for revenue for that? Or would that just kind of be in a non-budget fund?
I can't answer that specifically. I can tell you the genesis of that. I've been on councils in the past where the police department was able to buy less cars because of forfeiture money. And it came out of the general fund. They used, the money that from forfeitures to help fund stuff. So they weren't coming to the taxpayer asking for money. But the actual line item in the budget, that would have to be a question for Director Strom or the administration. Director Strom?
Yes, I'm here. Right now, we could set up a line item in the forfeiture account, if that's where you would like it to go, and isolate it for the acquisition of a certain item, say cars or undercover cars or something like that. Or we have revenues in the general fund for various categories as well. So I think that's something that before I make a decision or actually say anything, I'd like to do a little research about this, because it's fairly new and it's something that's I don't know how much revenue possibly we'll even be generating, but I don't want to set up a separate specific fund for something that's not going to be of any material nature. So I'd like to look at it and have a further discussion, maybe with the police department, and if a council member wants to join me on that, that's fine. I have no issue with that, but I'd rather not have a decision based on the facts that I have so far tonight.
Thank you, Director. Councilmember Donegan, any follow-up questions?
Well, I'm not, to be entirely honest, I'm not trying to continue what you've done. That's not my intent here. I just want to be honest about that. Would that be direct? I guess it's kind of a dual question of both you and Director Strom. Would that follow up be necessary if we struck 112 through 114 and didn't mention any sort of where that revenue goes? It would just. Am I right that it would be assumed that without that language, that money would just go into the general operating budget as some revenue line, in addition to some revenue line item somewhere?
Yes. Yes. And and let me ask you this, I didn't really look at the ordinance tonight, because of the budget and things of that nature, but would, it could also go, if it's gonna be a fine or a fee, it could also go into municipal court as well. Is that something that, is that something to be considered as well?
I guess I would propose to strike 112 through 114. And that way, any revenue that's generated through this is just, goes through the regular budgetary process rather than earmarked specifically towards this. And that's the only amendment I have.
You want to make it as an amendment, council member, and we'll see if we get a second?
Yes.
So
So I'll make a motion to strike line 112, starting with the number 7, proceeds, through line 14, ending in chapter 40.
okay, we have an amendment. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a second. Under discussion on the amendment, Councilmember Vargas, I see your hand up. I think you're
You're
on
on mute, Lamas.
Sorry about that. My question's really not on the amendment per se, it's on the verbiage though, on the word public auction. Can I ask that now to the director, to the finance director, or should I wait until after the
Yeah, I
amendment?
think we'll just do the amendment first, then we'll pivot back to discussion on the ordinance, if that's okay.
Okay, it has, can I just ask a question and then you can
Sure.
tell me if it's appropriate actually, just because it has to do with the word public auction. So, through the chair to Director Strom, proceeds from the sale at public auction, as you can see in that line number 112. When we do have public auctions though, in the city, in this case, with this proposed ordinance, it should be used towards Cranston Police Department. But when we do have a public auction in the city itself, does that go to the general fund or does that get allocated to a specific department?
That's a good question.
Yeah, and well, it depends on what the public auction is for, but it does go into the general fund in some category.
Okay, so not to get a lot out of line, I'm sorry.
Go ahead. No, I was just going to say, it depends on what the item is that's being auctioned off.
So we have real estate, right? We have pawn shops that do sometimes public auction. And so the city, based on the state statute, I believe, should be getting a portion of those. So that's what I'm just curious where those goes in general, just because it kind of goes with this ordinance where proceeds go for public auction in general.
Mm-hmm. Well, it could go into a separate line item in the police department for that item, or it could go into the general fund's major categories, which is other revenue. It's more generic.
So it could fall under other revenue if it doesn't have so in this case, it's police because it's ATVs would be obviously confiscated by the actual police department. But as far as public auctions in general, or I don't know if the cities get the pool tables, and that could be a conversation down the line, but I just wasn't sure on the public auction, so.
Yeah, usually something like that goes into just other revenue, but something specific like this, I think should go under the police or under municipal court if there's a fine involved.
Okay, so I'm actually with Councilmember Donegan on this, that we should, if possible, and like you said, Director, I don't know how much revenue we're gonna see from this specific discussion that we're having. But I'd like to see forfeitures eventually done in the budget myself, but we can have that conversation at some point if it's not appropriate at this time. But thank you, Council President.
Director Strom, can we add that as a separate line item in the police budget if this amendment fails?
Yes. Now, I'm a little confused. Where is this supposed to? Where is this being targeted to right now? Under a separate fund?
Well, this is for ATVs on the public roadways.
Right, but I mean, if we receive any money, where was this targeted for in the ordinance? I don't have it in front of me.
It was going to the Cranston Police Department to enforce Title 10, Chapter 40, which is the enforcement that's before us.
So through the through the chair possible,
Yes.
was this intended to go to the other revenue line item in the police department?
Well,
There's a
that's
line-
what I was thinking, Councilman Vargas. I was thinking that it probably should go into 101-1202-49130, which is other revenue.
Okay.
Do you see that?
Yeah, we just, no, yep, I do see that. And that's why I was asking. I just didn't know whether or not we, like the other revenue, I mean, we would have to obviously ask what other revenues are. In this case, it would be forfeiture. Is it really
Right.
difficult at all to add forfeiture under Group 1202 Police Department? If we wanted to have that conversation, is it possible to do that down the line? Or during
Well,
this budget?
keep in
cycle?
mind, federal forfeiture money and state forfeiture monies, that is handled through a separate fund in the finances of the city. That is not incorporated into the general fund. So if it's a forfeiture, then we have set up both based on what we receive from the state and for the feds forfeiture line items, and I can give you what those fund numbers are.
Okay.
If it's going to be something that's not going to happen very frequently, and then I would suggest, rather than putting it on the forfeiture, I think the term is forfeiture is being used because the vehicles are being taken because of the ordinance. I think the money involved there should probably just go under other revenue. But we do have forfeiture fund accounts specifically for federal and state that only can be used for certain things
Okay.
by the police department.
Right.
So
Okay.
what I can do is I can provide the council with those forfeiture numbers, give you a description of what they're currently being used for, and then look at this ordinance and see if it's applicable. Or should we just keep it separate under police?
I'll defer to some of the other council members, but I can say that under the forfeiture, under the police, specifically on, I personally would like to see a forfeiture line item added in so we can see what is coming in, but you're saying that's already in the budget, correct? On the forfeiture.
Yes, but you're restricted. Here's the thing, that money that comes into the police, you're restricted to what you can use that money for.
Correct.
I don't think this is not the same. You know what I mean? I think this should be isolated from that separately.
Maybe we can make a separate line item that says forfeiture ATVs.
I agree.
or
Yes,
recreation.
I think that would be the best thing. That's my recommendation, and I would like to see that if possible. If so, but for the
We
time
could
being, I
set
know
it
we have a motion on the floor. And I can, and I'll defer to Councilman Don again if that motion still stands to remove that. But if we were to remove that, are we then able to then, I would assume, amend this ordinance resolution down the line, correct? So we can indicate where those proceeds will eventually be going. This ordinance? Because if we strike that, where are the proceeds going? Is my
We would
question.
have we would have to set up a separate line item if that's the view of the council, or we could put it into other revenue. But the only thing is, if we put it into other revenue, you're going to commingle it with other things. If you want to keep it isolated so you can see exactly what's being generated from the ordinance that's being discussed now, then we should set up a separate line item.
That would be my recommendation. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember. A discussion on the amendment. Councilmember Donegan?
Yeah, thank you, Chair, Council President. And I think whether we add it to other revenue or create a separate line item is something that we can figure out through the budget process. But I think it's important that whatever is generated through this goes through that budget process. Whereas if those 2.5, one sentence are left in there, then even if it is a revenue line item, there's still going to be an ordinance on the books that says it can only be used for enforcement of this. Whereas let's just hypothetical, next year it generates $50,000 in revenue, but the police, and so there's a line item there for revenues, $50,000 for ATV enforcement. But that's what we can only spend it on ATV enforcement. Hypothetically, the police department come to us and say, we don't need $50,000 extra to enforce this law, this part of the code. It happens in our regular, operating procedures. We don't need an extra 50,000, but we wouldn't be able to move that to something else that might be more worthy of that money, because this sentence would be here on the books in the ordinance.
Can I make a suggestion?
Please, yeah.
How about we just put a period after department, remove to enforce Title 10, Chapter 40. That way it gives a flexibility. And when we finish up the budget at that last meeting, we can just add a line item, police budget. It'll obviously be zero, but we can put a line item there, recreational vehicle forfeiture, and then we can track it the next time the budget comes up. And then it doesn't lock you in on that Title 10, Chapter 40.
But that would require that all the revenue from this would have to be expended by the police department.
Yes. Shall be used by the Cranston Police Department. But like I said before, I know my rationale with this is if there's revenues coming in and maybe it's one less police car you got to buy or something along those lines because you have the forfeiture money coming in.
Mm-hmm. I guess I would say that removing it entirely would allow slightly more flexibility to apply it to any department that might need it. Whereas keeping it with the police would only allow it to be used for police. We could still use it for the police if needed, or we could use it for, insert other department if it was better, 50,000 that could go elsewhere. But we could probably go back and
No, I
forth.
mean, it's fine. We have your amendment in front of us. We can take a vote on it if there's no other discussion and then go from there. Is there any other discussion on Councilmember Donegan's amendment?
Through the chair.
Yes.
Councilman. Yeah, so what you had proposed as far as a suggestion was to put a period at the end of the word police, word department
Correct.
on line 113.
Yeah, and strike the rest of that sentence.
But that's a state chapter, right? That's a state statute, is it not? Title 10? I mean, city ordinance?
I'd have to defer to Solicitor Malay on that last sentence there.
Okay. All right. And so if you would put a period on that, I don't know if it really makes any difference because it's still going to the Cranston Police Department and would fall then under other revenues, correct? And so you're saying if we put a period at the end of department, then during budget season, well, we're in budget season, but at the city council meeting, you're saying create that forfeiture line item then?
Yeah, specifically just for recreational ATVs. So we can track it and see if next year, if there was even anything brought in, the line item would obviously start at zero.
So it would pretty much be the same thing as keeping this verbiage in this current ordinance as it is though, wouldn't it, in a way? Because it's still going to the police department. I'm not objecting one way or the other. I was just curious.
Yeah, I mean,
How it would go.
they wouldn't have that last part of the sentence. So to enforce Title 10, Chapter 40. Solicitor Malay is on here, but I'll defer to the solicitors on this.
Okay. I'm open to that, Council President, just to have that conversation on the line, because I personally would like to see how much money is coming into forfeiture under this easement. And if it's going under other revenues and we're not going to be able to get a clear vision as to how much is coming in, that's my goal, that I'd like to see what's the dollar amount coming in from the proceeds of a public auction, right? And so I have a couple of questions, but that's totally different. I'll wait on the side. So I'll keep it the way it is. I'm done.
Thank you. All
Thank
good.
you.
We have a motion, an amendment in a second on the floor. Councilmember Jermaine.
So my question is to the director. Is that a problem if we create a line item to have it without allocated to any like Council Donegan say, any specific department, just create a line item to just see what is coming and then we can use it for wherever we need it? Is that a problem to create this line item?
Do you want me to answer that, Councilwoman Jermaine? Are you waiting for me to give you an
Yes,
answer?
Director Strom, I think the question was directed at for you.
Oh, okay. Well, let me just put it this way. We have a number of items that come in for revenues on various departments, but say specifically fire, and now we're talking police. Even though these are revenue items that are in the police category, the revenues that come in are not specific to be used by the police department. It's just revenues that they generate based on their expertise and based on their programs that they have in their particular department. It all goes to the total amount of revenue. So, be that as it may, if we did set up a revenue line item, whatever it is, whatever you want to categorize it, and again, I'd like to look at the ordinance clearer before I suggest this. We could set it up as a revenue line item, and as Councilman Donegan mentioned, that, say it's 50,000, just as a general figure, that 50,000 does not mean it has to be used by the police department. It can be utilized by other departments for wherever the need is. It's just that the money that's coming in is part of the police department's revenue budget. But it does not mean that they have an offsetting expenditure for that amount, on any category for that matter. And same with fire and same with other departments. So, that's not an issue to set up a line item. How you want to spend it, is another story. That's something we'd have to discuss, but as was mentioned, that could be done during budget season. So if next year we set it up, we put in a figure, say, of 50,000, we don't receive 50, we only bring in, say, 25 through the process, that does not mean that we have to have an expenditure as an offset in the police department. We could have an expenditure in another department that's seeking additional funds.
Thank you, Doctor.
Thank you to you both. Councilmember Marino, I don't think you've spoken on this topic yet.
Thank you, Council President. I just like to say I support Councilman Donegan's motion to amend to remove that language, and I think we're all talking about the same thing here. Later on, we can just amend the budget to add the line item so that we can track the money, and then we can determine if we want to, delineate that to police vehicles. We want to delineate it to another thing, but at least we'll have the flexibility to do that. And I support that idea in general. So I just want to say that much, and that might help out. Thanks.
Thank you.
Yep.
Councilmember Renzulli.
Hi, just a quick question. The fine, there's a fine and then there's forfeiture. Are we doing that on the same vehicle? Like, you can be fined and then we could like kind of double dip on this, or is it totally separate? That's one question. And I did read this 3 times and I can't figure it out, so it's easier to ask. And 2, where does the fine money go? Does it go into a separate line, or is it just fines? Are we gonna be able to track that money as it is, or no?
Great question. The fine portion of it, Director Strom, can you answer that? Then I'll go to.
Well, I think the fine portion should actually go to municipal court, because they have listed on the municipal court traffic fines, building code fines, and all other fines. So, you know, we could put the fines under, say, all other fines, and then the actual auction could go under the police, and we could segregate the two.
But if we wanted to track fines, Director Strong, going forward, I don't know, are there sublines where we know, if I think the purpose of this is to see, you know, what's coming in based on this? And would we be able to do that, or is the fines gonna be lumped in with other fines that municipal court collects?
Well, right now we have a line item. To give you an example, I'd have to check to see what came in, but we have a line item that's all other fines. It was 0 budgeted, but we received $5,089 this year.
Okay.
I would have to find out what it is. We could set up another one that's just relating to these ATVs and motorcycles, blah, 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 and we could have a separate fine for just that, and municipal court would categorize it that way, if it makes it easier to read and see what they are.
Okay, thank you. And does anyone know if we're double dipping on one time, you know, somebody doing this, or no?
Solicitor Verdecchio.
Yes, Councilwoman Renzulli, the answer is it's not considered double dipping.
Okay,
It's actually a pretty common language that you'll find in many state statutes, criminal statutes, federal statutes. The one has nothing to do with the other. You can do both. That's the short answer.
Okay, but we are. So on one vehicle, we could be collecting a fine and then auctioning it off.
Well, what
Yes.
happens is, the way the law looks at it is, the fine is against the person. The forfeiture is called an in rem action, without getting hyper-technical here.
Yeah.
You're actually proceeding against the object itself. You can believe that, but that's how the law considers it.
Okay, but what would we perhaps end up bringing in the same vehicles more than once and like auctioning them? Just one, this is just a total curiosity question.
No, once that vehicle is seized and forfeited, it's gone. It can only happen once.
No, I mean, but we auction it off, right? And somebody buys
Right.
it, they could come back with it, essentially. We could get it again.
If someone is violating, yeah, absolutely. Yes.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Renzulli. Councilmember Vargas, do you have a question, or is your hand up from?
Yeah, no, I want to say that Councilwoman Renzulli brought a good point on that $500 fine, right? As to where is it going? And then would the expense of an actual auction in itself, would that then come out of the current police department expenses as well? To hold an actual auction? And my other question is possible is, under the current executive order that we have in place on this, are how many ATVs or these type of vehicles that are coming before us that are on this ordinance, how many have been seized so far?
To the administration?
Again, we'd have to set up, if you're looking at where the expenses would come out of, if the fine was going into municipal court as a separate line item, then I think any expense should also be as a revenue source. The expense should also be listed in municipal court as well for the process of the auction. Once the money comes in for whatever the value is, then that could go into another revenue account, either on other revenue or into the police account as a separate line item. Again, what I'd like to do is look at the ordinance and suggest and report back to the council what I think and how it should be distributed.
So through the chair to Director Strom, are you suggesting that perhaps this be continued to next month so you can take a look at this?
Well, from an enforcement standpoint, my question would be, this wouldn't hold up the process, would it? I mean, I don't want to, from a technicality, from a financial, where money's going, I don't want to hold back the process of the police doing their job. But if it doesn't, then I would say, yeah, we could hold back a month, but I want to make sure that we enforce this so that, the city has the right to do what they need to do when this abusiveness happens.
Got it. Okay. So,
I mean, financially, we can take care of that. In fact, I could, more than likely, I can have your answer by next Thursday, if you like, during budget session or adoption.
for next week, do we have a council meeting next? We have the special council meeting on the budget. All right, I'm just trying to make sure that we know where that $500 is going, which is a great point by Councilmember Renzulli as well, in addition to the other proceeds that Councilmember Donegan has brought up. So, all right.
Well, I think we might have maybe the city clerk, Madam Clerk, do we have a finance committee meeting on May 3rd?
Yes.
Okay, well, what I could do is have some information for you for that finance committee meeting on May 3rd. And then, of course, we have the budget adoption on May 6th. So that's only a week.
Okay. Would that be enough time if this was to even pass to move this to continue this to next week? Through the clerk, the council president?
The only problem is, as I stated, the enforcement element, the solicitor would know better. The finance committee, if you postpone it till next, say, Monday, May 3rd, we may have to wait till the end of May before it's, fully passed, and I wouldn't want to do that.
Right.
But I can give you the financial information by Monday, but I think you should really consider passing this and implementing this as soon as possible.
Yeah, I'm not against enforcing this at all. It's more of the allocation of the funds as to where they're going. Pretty much it.
I'll provide that to you for next Monday.
Okay.
Thank you, Councilmember Vargas. Councilmember Donegan and Councilmember Jermaine.
Thank you. And what I was going to suggest is similar to what Director Strom mentioned is, obviously I'm in favor of striking those two lines. We strike those, and then in the budget, if we want to add in under police department revenues a line item, because we might not know what we're going to get, $0 for fiscal year 2022. Call the line item ATV seizures, and then in the municipal court, create another line item, $0, ATV fines, something like that. That way they're in the budget. We can keep an eye on what's coming in, and then those revenues become part of the budget. We can spend them, allocate them where we feel appropriate. Police department, municipal court, wherever it might be. But that way we can get this enforced, also have oversight of the revenue that comes in. I think it does everything we're trying to do.
Thank you, Councilmember Donegan. Councilmember Jermaine.
Thank you, Council President. I want first to say thank you for bringing this ordinance, because I too really support it for the safety of our residents. And I do receive many calls about ATVs. And first, when I heard about it, I didn't really understand what was that first. And then when I make the research and I see how really dangerous is for the safety of the residents. So thank you to bring it. So I would suggest that we can, as we all agree that we need to do some work on it, but I will urge passage of this tonight, and then we can continue the bring up the amendment at the next council. But we need to really enforce this. This is really a lot of residents upload this move, and thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Jermaine. Appreciate the words. Any other discussion on this before I call for a vote on Councilmember Donegan's amendment? I think we've all spoken more than once. There being none, clerk, take the roll on Councilmember Donegan's amendment.
Councilman Marino,
Yes.
Councilman Ferry,
Yes.
Councilman Mazzulli,
Yes.
Councilwoman Vargas,
Yes.
Councilman Jermaine,
Yes.
Councilman Donegan,
Yes.
Councilman Riley,
No.
Council Vice President Brady, Council President Kapelowski.
No. Okay, motion passes. Now on the ordinance as amended. Any discussion?
Just like to say thank you, Council President, for working on this.
You're welcome. Councilmember Vargas, is your hand up from before? Do you have any comment?
It's up from before. Sorry about that.
Right, no other discussion. Clerk, please take the roll.
Councilwoman Marino,
Yes.
Councilman Ferry,
Yes.
Councilwoman Mazzulli,
Yes.
Councilwoman Vargas,
Yes.
Councilman Jermaine,
Yes.
Councilman Donegan,
Yes.
Councilman Riley,
Yes.
Council Vice President Brady, Council President Kapelowski.
Yes, Madam Clerk, Council President Brady had to step away for a couple of minutes for a work obligation. Moving on, motion passes. Thank you. Councilmember Riley, I think you have one
Yes.
more.
One last ordinance is the Diversity Commission Personnel by Councilwoman Marino, Vargas, and Jermaine. Can I entertain a motion?
Do we have a motion on 3-21?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Second.
We have a motion and a second under discussion. Councilmember Marino.
Thank you, Council President. I'd like to thank everyone for their support, the ordinance committee level, and I'd like to also thank members of the community for reaching out with respect to this ordinance. I would like to make a motion to amend this evening with respect to the commission membership. I'd like to move to amend on line 52 such that it would read, shall consist of 9 volunteer unpaid members. And to line 54, section C1, amend that so that it reads 4 members of the public being 2 and strike appointed by the mayor, comma, 1, that should be stricken, so that it will continue appointed by the council president, and strike 1, we're now on line 55, so that it would read, and 2 appointed by the council minority leader. I would also like to strike lines 56 and 57, which is section C2. And on line 66, which is section C7, and on line 67, which is section C8, have those 2 removed as well.
Second. Or motion to approve.
Second.
So we have a motion and a second for this amendment. Councilmember Marino, do you want to give the overview on that?
Sure. In speaking with members of the community, it was important that this diversity commission be comprised of members of the community. And the administration has many department heads that will, I'm sure, they'll be listening, because this is the role of this diversity commission to provide advisement. So it was best if there were 2 appointed by the council president, 2 appointed by the minority leader, which is an even balance. The chairperson would still be the city personnel director. And, that's pretty much the sentiment. In terms of the removal of a member from the senior center, it's because a committee level of 9, I think we can all pretty much agree of this, is a more, it's more advantageous to have that size of a committee. When you get larger than that, it becomes rather cumbersome. And I'm confident that with the members on this commission, that they will be working with the various department heads, the various departments. We could have chosen someone from the library department, someone from senior services. So I think that this is a great start. I've also spoken with Director Perillo as well, and he was willing to serve as the city as the commission chair as well. So that's pretty much where it stands. Thanks.
Thank you, Councilmember Marino. Councilmember Jermaine.
Yes, I think maybe Council Marino, I think we talk about having a co-chair, have a member of the committee co-chair with the personal. I think you maybe forgot to mention that in the amendment.
You can do that in a separate amendment, or it's whatever you'd like to do, Anise.
Yes, I will make an amendment to have 2 co.
I believe there's a motion right now. Can we
You
put another?
muted.
Yeah, let's do the first motion.
Right, one at a time.
Do one at a time. That way it's easier to keep track. So on the motion, what's the discussion on the amended motion? Council Member Renzulli, then Councilmember Donegan.
I'm just wondering, if someone can explain the purpose of removing lines 56 and 57, the 2 council members, 1 appointed by the president and 1 appointed by the minority leader.
If I may, through the chair. Sure. The community sentiment was repeated that council members already have a voice, and it was important this commission be representative more of the community than of council members. And as part of this ordinance, the commission in their report will be providing their advisory reports to both the mayor and city council. So, we have the opportunity, if we would like to sit in, but not to be a member of the commission. I can respect that.
Okay, so can we still sit in on meetings and listen and,
As a member of the public, correct? Yep.
Yeah, okay, thank you.
Yep, sure.
Thank you, Councilmember Renzulli. Councilmember Donegan.
Thank you, Chairman. I think that these amendments do a really good job at balancing some of the comments I've received from members of the public about the want to have more community representation on this. I think that, as we go forward in this work, the change is going to come from the bottom up, and by ensuring the balance of this commission is, equitable between city officials and members of the public. I think that it's going to allow for the commission to work more productively and efficiently, and to bring, I think, be more comfortable to bring about the results that I think we all want to see. So I support the amendments, and I would encourage everyone else to.
Thank you, Councilmember Donegan. I saw Director Perillo's hand up when he was in the audience, so he's here now in the panel. Director Perillo, did you have anything to add? Sorry, I didn't see you out there in the audience.
No, no problem. Just some clarification. So does the mayor still have his two picks, or are those being eliminated?
No, the two on line 54, it's 4 members of the public being 2 appointed by the council president and 2 appointed by the minority leader.
Okay.
Councilmember, can you give us the total makeup with your amendment? Because it was hard for me to track and I was downloading the ordinance as you were making it.
Sure. Yep, it's 9 volunteer members.
Okay.
And again, it would be 2 appointed by council president, 2 appointed by the minority leader. It remains of the 2 public safety members, 1 as appointed within the fire department and 1 from the police department appointed by the respective chiefs.
Okay.
1 member appointed by the local NAACP and approved by this council, the majority vote. And 1 member appointed by the head of the One Cranston Health Equity Zone as approved by the majority vote of this council. The city personnel director who will serve as the chair, and that's where it ends.
Okay, thank you. Director Perillo, do you have any more questions or comments?
I'm just wondering why we would not allow the mayor to have a say on the diversity commission.
Yeah, if I could through the chair.
Sure.
I don't believe that it's the mayor doesn't have a say on the diversity commission. The mayor holds the key to the bulk of the power in the city, as we all know that's the top pinnacle. And you are sitting there as a representative of that department. The fire and the police are representatives of within the city. So I don't view it as the mayor not having a say. And the role of this commission is not something where they can take actual action. It ends and will start with what the mayor wants to do with their advice. So as members of the community that I heard from, that was a real concern of theirs for the same reason that council members themselves are not sitting on that body. It gives this commission more integrity and the trust of the community. That's what was the ultimate goal.
Thank you, council member. Director, do you have any more questions or comments? If not, I'm going to move on. I have 4 council members with their hands up.
No, I'm all set regarding the membership. I just had a question later on about what the meeting is going to be considered. Public meeting, not public, solicitor, no solicitor, just that stuff that I talked about earlier. Thank you.
Thank you, Director. I don't know whose hand was up first, so I'll go to Councilman Riley, who hasn't spoken yet.
Mine was actually last. I just put it up. If you wanna
okay.
let someone go, I can wait.
Councilmember Vargas.
I just put mine up too.
Okay.
I mean, I'd be happy to go if that's okay with you. Look, guys, whoever put it up first, please go right ahead. I can wait because you know me, I'm long-winded.
Whose hand was up first? I was taking notes and I didn't see. You guys are all too polite tonight.
Right.
Councilmember Vargas.
I know Councilwoman Jermaine, and actually I know all 3 of you were before me, so I'm good.
All right. Somebody go. Floor is yours.
All right, I'll go.
There you go.
All right. So I understand the amendments coming before us. I think there's already amendment before us, but down the line, and we can wait and do one amendment at a time. But kind of to the point of Council Member Marino, I've been approached. I don't know if any one of you have been approached, or at least whether by email or phone call, the fact that the commission itself should be treated like every board and commission, where it could also be either on the calendar, not on the calendar, and as council members be part of the present and be able to still listen in, but obviously we're not a voting body itself. And I think, the mayor still has a say, and it doesn't matter, this is something that would be in the books, whether it's with the current administration down the line. And it really should be focused on community, with, in addition, obviously, to with the administration. But I think with the administration itself, we already have someone from, as mentioned, on the police, on fire, on as well as an appointment coming from each council, from the council president and the minority leader. As a matter of fact, I'd like to introduce an amendment later on that, and I'll say what my amendment is now, but I won't do it, but I'll say it now, but I won't. Obviously, we can't vote on it, but I'd like to actually appointments to even be residents of the city of Cranston as well, those that are appointed by the council president and the council minority leader. I think it's very fair to have these amendments come before us, because those are the city personnel directives also on there. It worked fine the way it was working as a resolution, and in putting this through the ordinance, we should treat it as any other board and commission. So I'm not sure exactly how we do with all the boards and commission in the city. Are they all put out on the city calendar? I don't think they all are. But I'm open to legal advice on this as well. I have a couple of other things, but I'll wait for everybody else to go, and then I'll add to it.
All right, well, let's stay on the amendment, on the, to change the makeup, and then we'll go on to the other questions and amendments. Any other discussion on the amendment before us? Councilmember Riley.
Thank you, Council President. I actually never looked at it from the lens that Councilwoman Marino did, but I actually really like the idea of a citizens group like that. You're right, we do. We have a say. We're on the city council. The mayor has a say. This is a nice opportunity for the public who put us in office to voice their opinions on a specific topic. I think that's a great idea. The only thing that concerns me about that with the composition here is we're removing all our elected officials to put a citizen in, but we have a couple of organizations on here that I wouldn't want to see. Obviously, they're of a more formal nature. They're used to things like that, so they would tend to probably take a leadership role there. And I don't know if we're allowed to have someone sitting as a member of a body, if this is a true city board, like Councilmember Vargas had said. But I just don't feel comfortable with the two organizations being represented with no city officials on there. That's all, just my 2 cents.
If I may, through the chair.
Sure.
Councilman Riley, we do have someone from the administration. We have the city personnel director, and in looking at the ordinance, you'll see that it's one member from those two organizations, being the NAACP and one Cranston Health Equity Zone. However, it's subject to our approval of the majority vote of council. So it's not that each of these separate independent organizations outside of the city get to unilaterally and independently put someone on this board. It still is subject to our approval specifically for that reason.
I appreciate it. I didn't realize that fact, but I do appreciate it. Thank you.
Sure.
Thank you, council members. Councilmember Jermaine.
Thank you, Council President. I would wait for the motion, the amendment on the floor to be voted for first, because I wanted to propose another amendment.
Okay. Thank you. Councilmember Vargas, do you have any more discussion on this? If not, I'm gonna take the roll.
No, sorry, I didn't drop my
All
hand.
right, any more discussion on the makeup? There being none, clerk, please take the roll.
Councilwoman Marino,
Yes.
Councilman Ferry,
Yes.
Councilwoman Mazzulli,
No,
Councilwoman Vargas,
Yes.
Councilwoman Jermaine,
Yes.
Councilman Donegan,
Yes.
Councilman Riley,
No.
Council Vice President Brady, Council President Paplaskas.
Yes. Okay, motion passes, amendment passes. Councilmember Jermaine, you have an amendment?
Yes. So my amendment is to, we know it's a diversity, and more often we want to have the power sharing, okay? So having a community member co-chair with the director of personnel, I think that's a great idea. When, for example, if the chair is, they're not going to office at the same time in the meeting. So if one is absent, and the work can still continue to be going on. So that's why I think having the perspective of a community leader as co-chair with the director of personnel. That's what I would like to see.
I think that all the bodies have a vice chairperson, so if the chairperson is absent, is that what you're looking to do here, council member? I don't know if
Yes.
this ordinance says
Yes.
vice chairman, but I'm going to assume that a vice chairman would be elected. Director Perillo, can you shed some light on that?
I do not have any thoughts on that, Council President. I believe there's an auxiliary or a vice chair, but I don't know if there's an actual co-chair on any of the boards or commissions. I'm not that familiar with them. Sorry.
Okay, well, we can always make an amendment to add a vice chair. I just don't know where in the ordinance, if Councilmember Marino has a spot for it.
Sure. If I may, Anise, it's a good and valid point and concern. The way the ordinance is drafted now is that in the absence of the chairperson, it reads on line 71 that the commission by a majority vote of those members members present shall elect a temporary chairperson for the meeting. So we can probably amend that line there to reflect that we'll just talk it out before I make before you can make the formal motion, or me, doesn't matter. On line 71, we can strike where it says in the absence of the chairperson and instead put that by majority vote of the members of the commission, a vice chair shall be elected.
Yeah, I like that.
Would that be satisfactory?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Madam Clerk, do you have the amendment?
Councilwoman Marino, could you just repeat that again?
Okay, sure. On line 71, we'll make a motion to amend for line 71, where the second sentence begins, in absence of the chairperson. We can strike that section, in the absence of a chairperson, comma, and instead it can read, a vice chairperson will be selected by the commission by majority vote of those members of the commission, period. And then we can strike present shall elect a temporary chairperson for the meeting.
That's in the form of a motion. Do we have a second? I'll second it. Council member Anise, and then Council member Donegan. Council member Jermaine?
Oh, I'm done with the motion, so I think, yeah. Thank you. So what I said is make the way where we can better serve our community, and the power sharing, it's important. And in case anything happened and the commission survive, you can continue to do the work and is elected to go. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Jermaine. Councilmember Donegan, did you have your hand up? No? Great. Any more discussion on this amendment? Clerk, will you please take the roll?
Councilwoman Marino,
Yes.
Councilman Ferry,
Yes.
Councilwoman Mazzulli,
Yes.
Councilwoman Vargas,
Yes.
Councilwoman Jermaine,
Yes.
Councilman Donegan,
Yes.
Councilman Riley,
Yes.
Council Vice President Brady, Council President Paplaskas.
Yes. Okay, the discussion on the amended ordinance. Any other amendments?
Through the chair.
Councilmember Vargas.
I don't see that there's a residency here at all as far as the appointments coming from the council members. I really think that the members that are being appointed by the council president and the council minority leader should be residents of the city of Cranston. And so I'd like to put that motion before I know that there's now new language that was just passed as amended regarding the, I think it started off on line 54 of the ordinance. But I'd like to put out that the appointments by the council president and the appointment by the council minority leader should be Cranston residents. I think it was 2 members appointed by the council president. Was that the amendment again, Councilwoman Marino?
Yes.
Yep, and 2 by a minority leader, so we can have appointed, the 2 appointed by the council president and 2 appointments by the council minority leader should be Cranston residents. That's my motion.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second under discussion. There being any,
Quick
Councilmember Riley.
clarification. Councilwoman Vargas, which positions have to be from Cranston and which don't?
I figured that ones that we were going to be appointing as the ones that are coming from the council president and the minority leader.
Okay.
There's 2 from the president and 2 from the minority leader. If they would be Cranston residents, I think if we're talking about Cranston and the diversity and everything reflected in our city, they should be both Cranston residents. However, I'm open to saying at least one of them, one from each should be a Cranston resident, but I honestly would like to put a motion first and see if it goes through with both of them, all 4 being Cranston residents.
Now, thank you for the clarification. I definitely support that. I think they all should be.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you, council members. Councilmember Ferry.
Yes, I also agree that the public safety appointments should also be Cranston residents.
My 2 cents on that, I don't think there's a residency requirement for the public safety officials, so it might be tough to, if one of the majors wants to be on it, if they don't, I don't know where they live, if they live in Cranston or not, but maybe that might make that a little tougher.
Just my opinion.
Thank you. Any other discussion? There being none, clerk, please take the roll.
Councilwoman Marino,
Yes.
Councilman Ferry,
Yes.
Councilwoman Mazzulli,
Yes.
Councilwoman Vargas,
Yes.
Councilwoman Jermaine,
Yes.
Councilman Donegan,
Yes.
Councilman Riley,
Yes.
Council Vice President Brady, Council President Paplaskas.
Yes. Okay, any other amendments or discussion on 3-2102? There being none, clerk, please take the roll.
Councilwoman Marino,
Yes.
Councilman Ferry,
Yes.
Councilwoman Mazzulli,
Yes.
Councilwoman Vargas,
Yes.
Councilwoman Jermaine,
Yes.
Councilman Donegan,
Yes.
Councilman Riley,
Yes.
Council Vice President Brady, Council President Paplaskas.
Yes, thank you. Motion passes. Glad to see this is an ordinance and not done by resolution anymore. And Director Perillo, I forgot to get an answer to your question about minutes and legal and like other boards and commissions take the minutes and report them to the Secretary of State. I'm going to assume yes, but I'll leave that up to legal, Attorney Videcchia or Solicitor Angel,
Public body.
public body.
Yep, qualifies as a public body under the Open Meetings Act. Must comply with the Open Meetings Act in the Open Records Act.
Director Perillo.
Okay, thank you.
Good. Thank you, sir. Enjoy your evening.
Through the
Okay.
chair.
Yes.
Actually, never mind. I can research this myself another time. No big deal.
Thank you, Councilmember Riley. Okay, moving on. That closes ordinance committee. Councilmember Riley, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Moving on to public comment for undocketed items. Now is the time for public comment for undocketed items. If you have anything to say, raise your hand or hit *9 if you're on the phone,
Council
Leave it
President
*6.
or *6.
Alina,
Ms. Arena, how are you? Name and address for the record, please. Just need to unmute. Suzanne, if you can hear me, if you can unmute, the floor is yours.
Can't seem to.
Oh, just had you.
Oh, here we go.
There you go.
Sorry.
No, you're good. Name and address for the record and welcome.
Suzanne Arena, 88 Lakeland Road, Cranston. Thank you for giving me the moment to speak. I just wanted to recognize that we've had some issues here in Cranston with loose dogs. And I wanted to thank Matt and I'm sorry, I'm just getting this closed. Hold on a second. Matt, Nicole, and Jessica for helping out very quickly to our aid. I've had my dog for a second time has been attacked by a neighbor who continues to keep the dog off the leash because Ben back in 2019 had said that, and he's with the dog officer. He said that, you know, in Cranston, we only have a keep your dog in control law. It's not really a leash law per se. So over the year and a half, I've done a lot of research and tried to get somewhere, but at the time we didn't have new people on the council, which we do now, that are interested. Matt kind of took this, Anise helped, but she was working already separately on the dog pooping on people's lawns and not, you know, picking up, which is a nuisance, but certainly it's not life-threatening, which is what I'm more concerned with. I've had many people reach out since I had posted saying that they've had problems of being almost attacked or their dog was attacked or they were, and, you know, most people think that it's a leash law is in fact what it should meet the name of what it is. The ordinance that's passed, and that is not the case. So the issue is you get a one bite rule in Rhode Island. So it's kind of like DCYF goes by the same thing. You can hurt your child once, and if you do it again, then they will, you know, do something about it. So I found it kind of ironic that we do the same with dogs. And Matt has written up some language that I know we've all looked at, or Anise, Nicole, and Jessica had gotten involved. It's very serious and it really needs to be changed this year. We need to have very clear consequences. I am moving out of Cranston because of the threats for the last year and a half, and I take it very seriously. I've been a very long-time resident of Cranston and tried to be an activist and change things for the better. I am appalled that the safety of my family has been negotiated, if you will, that it's not taken very seriously, where I have, you know, somebody who's threatened on tape, on video, and people are appalled. So I'm not happy with the way the police have handled it, but I understand laws are the way they are. They can only do so much. So before I leave, I am going to make sure that I work with Matt and the others to get this settled. And then on a bigger scale, I'd like to see support of this council to do this on a state level with a resolution. The resolution is going to entail that, just like a car accident, you treat animals like they are property. So you have to have an accident, just a car accident, you need to exchange papers. The police should make people that are attacked or have their property damaged, they should make that owner give the other person the insurance that they have for their homeowner's insurance. We should not have to fight, especially people who can't afford it. There's a lot of people who can't afford it, to hire an attorney, to go through all this. So the burden shouldn't be on people. And in your less wealthy areas, people let their dogs run a ruckus, and they don't have the money. So that's one of the things I've heard. I'm very grateful for everyone who's come out and taken the lead on this. I'm appalled that I have to leave. I don't feel that there's another resolution for myself or my daughter, who's petrified. But I just wanted to thank everybody for over the years. I'm not going to be coming to meetings anymore. I don't have to worry anymore. But I would like to see a change. And here I come, Narragansett. So thank you, everybody. Chris, it's been great doing cleanups with you. And I do hope that you consider the Mulligan's open space. For years, I'd worked on that with Rachel McNally, and we really wanted to see that space be open. If you're looking for something else, I mean, we passed a bond, a $6 million bond we worked on years ago for open space. Where's the money going? Why can't they purchase a piece of land like that and maybe have concerts or do different things? I don't know, just something else I'd rather see. But anyhow, that's all for you guys to do, and you have a big job ahead of you. Thank you all.
Thank you, Suzanne. Great to see you tonight. I wish it was under better circumstances, and certainly best wishes on your move to Narragansett, but you will be missed.
Thank you. Thank you.
Anybody else from the public to speak on undocketed items? There being none, I will close that portion of the meeting. Moving on to election and or appointment of city officials. Most of these are informational only. Traffic Safety Commission, Greg Ventura, sponsored by Council Vice President Brady. We have Dan DeCesaris for the Traffic Safety Commission, sponsored by Councilwoman Renzulli. Small Business Advisory Committee, sponsored by Councilwoman Vargas. We have Laura Little. We have Louis Umberto for the Small Business Advisory Committee, sponsored by myself. Sponsored by Councilman Riley. We have Robert Zorian, sponsored by Councilwoman Marino. We have Adrienne Darconte. Did I say that right? Probably not. The next name I'm going to need help with, sponsored by Council Vice President Brady, Tony Fukampa. Sorry if I messed that up. And we have Michael Pappas, sponsored by Councilwoman Renzulli. Those are all for the Small Business Advisory Committee. We do have an appointment for the Juvenile Hearing Board. A vote will be taken on this. This is for Kristen Horion, so I will entertain a motion.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Second.
A motion and a second. Any discussion? There being none, clerk, please take the roll.
Councilwoman Marino,
Yes.
Councilman Ferry,
Yes.
Councilwoman Renzulli,
Yes.
Councilwoman Vargas,
Yes.
Councilwoman Jermaine,
Yes.
Councilman Donegan,
Yes.
Councilman Riley,
Yes.
Council Vice President Brady, Council President Paplaskas.
Yes. Okay, motion passes. Moving on, we have, for informational only, appointment of Larry Warner for the Pandemic Advisory Board, sponsored by Councilman Donegan. And for the Cranston Arts Commission, we have the appointment of Claudia DeCesare, sponsored by myself, and that was a referral from the chair of the Cranston Arts Commission. Moving on to report of city officers, we have none. Executive communications, we have the legal fees report, 7/1 to 4/20. Informational only, no vote will be taken. Are there any questions? Councilmember Marino.
Thank you, Council President. Yes, I was wondering, some of the fees on there are rather substantial. I'm sure they can be, explained and substantiated, but given the huge sums of money, one in particular references Coniglia from Attorney Mark DeSisto. Those are huge sums, and I'd like to perhaps go into executive session to discuss some of what those specific expenditures are for.
Councilwoman Marino, this is Mr. Malay. I'd be more than happy to discuss whatever questions you have in executive session.
Sounds great.
I don't think the way we have Zoom set up tonight will work for executive session. We might have to do that a separate night. Is that okay, Councilwoman Marino?
If we don't have the capability, we can't do it tonight, we can't do it tonight. So it's whatever we're capable of doing. Yeah.
To the clerk, are we capable to go into executive session the way this is set up tonight?
I don't believe so.
I think
In the webinar.
through the president, can
Yes.
we do it at the end?
That sounds like a good idea.
Solicitor Angel, is that okay? We don't have to advertise to do that at the end, just report that no vote was taken when we come out?
Oh, you would handle it in the normal course of events as you would with any executive session, except that you should entertain a motion now to take the agenda out of order, put this last. And I don't pass judgment on what the technological capabilities are of the city. I leave that to those who are in charge of that. But you need to ensure that that meeting is private and among the council members.
Okay, so we will, I'll entertain a motion to take the agenda out of order and move the legal fees report to the end of the meeting.
So moved.
Second,
Under discussion? There being none, clerk, please take the roll.
Councilwoman Marino,
yes.
Councilman Ferry,
Yes.
Councilwoman Mazzulli,
Yes.
Councilwoman Vargas,
Yes.
Councilwoman Jermaine,
Yes.
Councilman Donegan,
Yes.
Councilman Riley,
Yes.
Council President Paplaskas.
Yes. Councilmember Donegan, do you have any questions? No, okay. Thank you. Moving on, under executive communications, we have a request to be continued in service for 1 year. Major Robert Quirk, Cranston Police Department. Director Moretti, do you have anything to add for Major Quirk?
Yes, just to say that, yes, Major Quirk has requested continuation of service, and he has completed all requirements to do so.
Thank you, Director Moretti. I'll entertain a motion.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion to continue Robert Quirk for 1 year, and we have a second. Under discussion? There being none, I'll just say thank you to Major Quirk. I see him in the audience and wish you well, sir, and thank you for your service to Cranston. Clerk, will you please take the roll?
Councilwoman Marino,
Yes.
Councilman Ferry,
Yes.
Councilwoman Mazzulli,
Yes.
Councilwoman Vargas,
Yes.
Councilwoman Jermaine,
Yes.
Councilman Donegan,
Yes.
Councilman Riley,
Yes.
Council President Paplaskas.
Yes. Congratulations, Major Quirk. Moving on to Council President Communications. We have a presentation from Tomas Avila, Special Projects Advisor to Commerce RI regarding PPP and the current Small Business Relief Grant Program. Good evening, sir.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Can you hear me?
Thank you for being here tonight. I know it's been kind of a long night. We appreciate your input on this, and the floor is yours, sir.
Thank you, Mr. President, and thank you for the promptness to the response for this request. And I am here, as I mentioned in my letter, on behalf of Governor McKee and the Commerce about the grant that was placed open a week ago, 2 weeks ago. And it goes until the 30th of this month, until Friday. And it is $20 million that was put out there for small businesses who've been affected by COVID. And very much is up to $5,000 can be applied for. And if awarded to any business except any corporations, real estate offices, as Daniela mentioned, those are the only ones that are not covered, but otherwise it's any small, and also it has to be a small business under $1 million. Those are the limitations. And it's to try to help those businesses that have been hurt very badly. And the other is the Paycheck Protection Program Fund. To let you know that money is still available. It was extended until May 30th by President Biden. And it is, again, to extend the availability of such funding for the small businesses that initially couldn't get access. And so that's why it's being extended to allow those small businesses to have access to these opportunities for funding. And the governor wants very much as part of his 39 cities initiatives, wants communication directly with municipal leaders like yourself. And that's why he has assigned myself and somebody else to talk to individuals such as this body to inform them directly about these opportunities. So that's my presentation. I'll keep it brief. I know it's been a long time, but I have enjoyed every moment of it. I just want to say hello to Councilman Jermaine and Vargas, and to everybody else. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Tomas.
Thank you very much, Mr. Avila. Does anybody have any questions? Oh, they're being.
Would I, sorry to jump in, but if you all don't mind, the program is available at commerceri.com/relief grant. And for the PPP, it is, you can also get help. If folks want, if businesses need help, they can email us at info@commerceri.com or call 521-HELP. And we have technical assistance, community-led partners who can support. And apologies for being on my stairs. I've got a 19-month-old and it's bedtime, so we're in a tight space.
It's all good. By this time of night, half of us are hiding from the rest of us. They can sleep, believe me. Thank you very much, both of you, for the information. There might be some questions. Councilmember Vargas, I see your hand up.
Yes, thank you, Council President. Again, thank you to the both of you for being here this evening and providing us with all this information. I'm hoping that the information that is being disseminated to us is also information that is being disseminated also to our Economic Development Director and the administration as well. So that way we're able to also be able to provide that information, whether it's either on our website or perhaps through other avenues to businesses here in the city. You know, and at the very same token, while you're also here, is, you know, looking forward to continuing to seeing the both of you, or you know, representation definitely from Commerce RI coming before us and letting us know the information that is available to businesses, or emailing us as well, because this is very useful, and definitely providing us with maybe even some sort of quarterly, you know, updates. A few months ago, Councilmember Ed Brady and myself did a presentation with Commerce RI as well here in the city of Cranston. And we got a lot of positive feedback from members here in our community, letting us know about all the useful information that was that they did not know too much about. So I appreciate your time, and I assume that you've been in touch with Franklin, who's also on the call, who I see on here as well this evening, and looking forward to continuing to see many other presentations coming from Commerce RI in collaboration within our great city. So thank you to the both of you.
Thank you, Councilmember Vargas. I'll go to Councilmember Jermaine and then to Franklin. Councilmember Jermaine.
Thank you, Council President. I want to thank both of you. Thomas, thank you for the work you've been doing. Good to see you. I have a suggestion. As you mentioned, the deadline is this Friday. Is that correct? Okay. So I'm curious. I don't know the rules of grant of those kind of things, but what I'm thinking is, if we have this fund to have small businesses, and today is Monday, and we want to tell them there is help available, and you just tell me the deadline is Friday. So how we want to help those small businesses, and I don't know how you do make the rules, but we need to review those rules. Make whenever it's for them, make it available and they can apply. When you tell me if the deadline passed, what you're gonna do with this money? So you send it back, and then we have so many people who need it and did not know before, and cut off between times, and you know, to put paper together, and that's required time. So I don't know how business work, so I'm not a small business, but I do think those rules, please, at Commerce RI, or do something. And make it on an ongoing. We are in a pandemic. We don't know when it's going to be ending. We should put those rules on an ongoing basis for the small businesses. That's my thing. That's what I want to say. So, but thank you for bringing us the information, but we need more time for those because frankly, I would like to go. 2 weeks ago, no, 1 week ago, I went to visit a couple small businesses in my ward, and they are real hardship. And now tomorrow, it's gonna be 9 o'clock in 8 minutes, and tomorrow morning I'm gonna go to work, so I cannot go to see them tomorrow morning. So how they will, how I don't know. I don't see the feasibility as of today and Friday to help small business get to the loan. So please, in the policymaker, do something to make sure we have something on ongoing basis for the small businesses because they need it. They're gonna miss the deadline, and what next?
And I just want to add to that actually the application opened on the 15th, and since the 15th, there's been team of individuals visiting businesses throughout the state. So the information that I just shared with you, the businesses have gotten them directly from individuals, and also there's been a lot of marketing through radio, television, and direct mail from Commerce Array directly to the businesses. So most of the businesses have been aware, and there's been a great response already from businesses applying for these grants. So yeah, I understand your concern, and definitely I totally agree with you. But I want you to be aware that again, since April 15, there's been individuals on the ground knocking doors and actually canvassing every community across the state of Rhode Island, including Cranston.
Well, Councilwoman Jermaine, to add to that a little bit, the Rhode Island Hispanic Chamber of Commerce was actually out in Cranston on Saturday, doing door-to-door knocking to businesses in the city. And we have others that have been doing it in the city previously, to Tomas's point. But I do think you bring up a good point about the ongoing communication with everything going on, and with the pandemic, there's so much afoot. And I think Councilwoman Vargas, you said about having ongoing communication is important, that it doesn't need to be just this one time. This was the earliest meeting that we could get on the calendar for. But if we have an ongoing connection point, then we don't have to wait to sort of, figure it out once we've got the new thing. Oh, when's the next meeting? We just know that we have sort of, open lines of communication.
Thank you.
Hello. Oh, thank you. Good evening, all. You hear me?
I can hear you, Franklin.
Okay. Good evening, council member and member of the public. When we heard about the grant coming up on April 15, we did a lot of visitation to all the business in Cranston. I personally went out, and especially on Ross Square, I did like 50 business and told them about the grant, because we have another grant going on in the city, which is $1,000. And this one with the $5,000, we've been advertising and marketing. We've been putting it on the Facebook page. And we also would like to put the link for Rhode Island Commerce on the Cranston webpage, which is going to probably be done tomorrow. So when people be looking for this grant, they'll automatically be linked into the Rhode Island Commerce. I have also reached out to various business organizations in Knightsville. I've been walking in Knightsville, Oakland Ave, and telling them about this great program that the state of Rhode Island has. And that's what basically we're doing. We have to do a little bit more marketing on it. We have like a week or two for it, but the grant is there, and we urge all the businesses to apply for this grant.
Thank you very much, Franklin.
You're welcome.
Councilmember Renzulli, and then I'll go back to Councilmember Jermaine.
So I just wanted to point out that I do a lot of social media, so I follow Commerce, Rhode Island Commerce on Facebook, and so the information has been out since like the 12th, when the governor and Stephen Pryor, announced the launch of it. So I would say that we might not all all do that, and I share a lot of information from there, but perhaps, Ms. Fairchild, if you send information that you plan to put on Facebook, maybe through our clerk, she can disseminate it to all the council members, and then everyone can do it that way, because depending on people's job or lifestyle, or, when they have time to go on social media, they might miss it, and that would be a good way to get it to all of us if you wanted to. So I just wanted to say that. And I think that Commerce Ride does an excellent job with their social media. It makes it really easy to share information, I found personally. So I've done some walking and communicating, but I can see how it could easily be missed if, you work all day, you're in council meetings at night, you have kids and different stuff. So that just is an idea. So thank you so much for your hard work on this program.
Thank you, Councilmember Enzulli. Councilmember Jermaine?
Thank you, Council President. And the question is about the application. So we know most of the time application is 3, 4, 5, 15 pages. So I would like to know, do we make it really friendly, easier for those small businesses? I would like to know about that. How many pages the application?
3 pages.
You have to fill out. Will it take 1-2 hours to fill out the application?
It's an online form application. It's 1 page. There's no uploading of documentation that's needed. And the application is also available in fillable PDF in English and in Spanish. And so if you want to sort of do it ahead of time, make sure you have it right, and then go online and put it together, you can do that as well. But it's a online form, 1 page, and no upload documentation needed.
Great to know. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. DeMayo, I see your hand up.
Yeah, through the chair. I've completed 3 of those today, Councilwoman Jermaine, and it takes less than 30 minutes as long as you have the information in front of you. It's very, very accommodating. And you'll receive an email probably within 4 to 5 hours saying that your application's been received, and if they need any additional information, they will request it from you.
Very good. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you very much. Any other questions or comments? There being none, I just want to thank Ms. Avila and Ms. Fairchild. Thank you very much for joining us this evening. And Franklin, good to see you, sir.
Nice to
And,
see you.
thank you all for your knowledge, and hopefully we can get this information out to businesses and they can apply, because we all know they need the help. So thank you very much.
You're welcome.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Great evening, everyone.
Thanks.
Okay, we're still on the Council President Communications. I just would like to let everybody know that we should be back in person with a hybrid model at Cranston East for the end of next month. Month's main meeting. The committees will still be doing it the way we've been doing it now, but the school department was gracious enough to let us use their setup. So we should be good to go with a hybrid meeting next month in person. If you can't make it, it's okay. You'll be able to call in from home or wherever you're at, but it's a good way to try to get back together, and we haven't met in person in over a year. Other than that, we've been going through the budget. Great questions, a lot of back and forth, and it's been a good 5-6 weeks going through that. And thank you all for your time and your hard work. It's been a great process, and we'll be wrapping that up soon. That being said, I will move on to council member communications. Councilwoman Marino, you're up first.
Thank you, Council President. The first item that I have on there is the mention at the April 12, 2021 Finance Committee meeting, Council Vice President Brady, in an exchange with Director of Public Works Ken Mason, had specific reference to the Department of Public Works independent study providing a list of priority streets in need of repairs and improvements in the city. And given that it was specifically referenced, this is my inquiry to the administration, to the department, as to how we can make that list accessible and transparent for the benefit of our residents.
Councilwoman Marino, may I address that?
Sure.
Okay. Through the chair, Mr. President, I believe that during that conversation there was a mention of a priority of streets and/or avenues within the city by Mr. Mason, and any such mention of that list, I believe through my research, would be a privileged list based on work product. I think that the proper way to address it, and I will certainly defer to Mr. Verdecchia and Mr. Angel, but I believe that the proper way to address this would be in executive session based on current state statute, Councilwoman. So I think that that's the best way to handle that particular request.
Okay, Solicitor Millet, just to be abundantly clear, the precise terminology that was used at that meeting was that there was in fact a quote independent study of exactly what I just referenced. And so that's where that came from. You know, maybe the choice of words was wrong, but I don't see how an independent study that the city paid for with tax dollars would be, you know, considered work product. And deemed confidential, but we can explore that. You know, I'll give you the benefit of the doubt. We can explore that happily in executive session.
Yeah, I just think that that's the proper way to go under state law, Councilwoman.
Sure. Is there a specific state law, Solicitor Millet, that you're referencing?
Well, under the open meetings law, there's a specific section that deals with any type of contractor. I have to pull it up to quote specifically. All right, but anything that can deal with contracts, and Attorney Verdecchia, he and I have discussed this matter. I'm going to pass off to him at the moment.
If I could interject, so Councilwoman Marino, it isn't the open meetings. Actually, would be APRA. It comes under 38-2-2, which basically talks about the types of records which can be made public. And it's a pretty comprehensive list, and it is subject to interpretation like most of these things are. But the two provisions that I think strike closest to home here would be under 38-2-2, subparagraph K and N. So those two seem to suggest, and I can read you some of the language, but it basically says preliminary drafts, notes, impressions. I don't know what Director Mason meant when he talked about independent study. Again, but out of an abundance of caution, it would seem, at least on its face, that it could fit one of these categories. So just out of an abundance of caution, we probably should discuss it first in executive session. And if it turns out that that's not the case, then fine. But I think we should be a little cautious under 38-2-2.
Thank you, Solicitor Verdecchia, for the explanation. And like you said, yeah, we can address this further in executive session. I'll give you the benefit of the doubt. Thanks.
Councilwoman Marino, you have one more item under Councilmember Communications.
Yeah, the second item for this evening is the mayor's executive order for the emergency declaration allowing outside dining at all restaurants in the city of Cranston. I think, you know, we have proven this, I think, as a city council, along with the mayor, of trying to do, you know, whatever we can to assist businesses. And I think across the state, not even just the city, there's been a big outpouring of relief towards the restaurant industry in particular. And I understand the need for that. The concern that I have with this executive order is that the goal that it's seeking to accomplish is, you know, a good goal, but it's the how we get there that's very important. And there are concerns with respect to this order. along the lines of, we are a self-insured city, as some of my colleagues have also said in the past. And we need to be certain that we're taking certain precautions when we are seeking through this order to allow expanded outdoor dining. And I understand from this measure that these restaurant owners are to come to the city to seek a permit where the fee is waived. And there is an indemnification clause that's signed by these businesses. However, what happens is if there is to be some type of unfortunate incident, which has happened in the past, and not saying specifically with the city, but just in the cycle of reality in which we live, what can happen is that the restaurant, let's say something tragic happens dealing with outdoor dining due to this expansion. And what's going to happen is that company, that owner that has indemnified us is just simply going to claim bankruptcy. And then we potentially as a city could be left footing the bill. And that's a concern for all of us taxpayers. And I think that we owe it to the taxpayers of the city to take a second look at this and take a more comprehensive and more careful approach, because the way this is currently drafted, we are potentially really exposing ourselves as a city. You think back to the Station nightclub fire. No one thought that could happen, and it did. Something can happen, especially when you're expanding outdoor dining. In my field of expertise in being a lawyer, dealing a lot with automobile accidents, I have seen it where the unexpected happens and someone goes careening through. And I do have concerns when we have parking lots that are set up. What are we doing in terms of inspections after that to ensure that there are proper barricades and things like that. So this is something that we need to explore further. And this is something I would definitely want to have an executive session on to explore those concerns, again, for the benefit of everyone in the city. Thank you.
Thank you, Council Member Marino. Council Member Renzulli, do you have anything to add on this? Nope. Okay, thank you. To the administration, do you have anything to add? I'm going to move on to the next.
No, the only thing that's fine. Seem like the valid points, though. Do invite anyone from the council though to give us a call at any time. So if this deserves amendment, I'm sure the mayor would be happy to accommodate. Thank you.
Thank you, Director Moretti. Moving on under Council Member Communications, Councilwoman Vargas.
Yes, thank you. So One Cranston Youth Opportunity Zone had approached me, and I was in a meeting that they held probably about a month or two ago regarding the completion of their surveys that they had done to parents here in the city, asking about the need of summer programs here in the city of Cranston. The surveys, again, the survey has concluded, and I, in my conversation with Caitlin, I asked that she please share that with us as a council, particularly also because we have, it's budget time. Park and Recs has come before us, and we did not have clearly a summer camp last year. Definitely there's been discussion about summer camp this year, not just for the city, but in other organizations that are here within the city of Cranston as well. And so I found it only right if she presented that survey that was done here to our families in Cranston to the city council, so we are well aware of the needs that the families are asking for, looking for, or any innovative ideas or so forth that they could provide us with as we are going to be having the conversation about summer camp, the administration as well, probably having or thinking already of that conversation and the precautions that are going to most likely be taking place, and the number of camps that we will probably accept this year in comparison to the previous years might be lower. So again, this may help us get an understanding as to those completed surveys. So Caitlin should be on. I think she may want to share her screen as well to the clerk. So if she's on, I'm not sure if you see her. She told me she's on. Caitlin Blankenship.
Hi, Caitlin. If you can hear us, you can unmute.
Yes.
Hi, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you
I
for
also, if you can find him, he should be in the meeting. Roberto Catoni is one of our student leaders who will be presenting with me.
Hi, Roberto. Welcome.
Hello, thank you.
All right, the floor is yours.
Thank you guys so much for having us here tonight. As Councilwoman Lamas Vargas mentioned, we are from One Cranston's Health Equity Zone Subcommittee, the Youth Opportunity Zone. We really focus on expanding opportunities for our youth, and we did a summer survey to our Cranston families to get a sense of what they need this summer for camp options for our youth. I wanted to make sure that Roberto had the ability to share his screen because we wanted to show you guys some of the results from the report.
Is he going to be sharing his screen, Caitlin?
Yes.
Okay. Council President, is that something that the clerk would allow him to do, or how does that work?
Great question. I'm seeing if I have it on my end.
I see that I have it. Roberto, do you have that option or should I share my screen?
You know
I
what?
have the option.
Okay, awesome. Thank you. So as you all may know, my name is Caitlin. I am a consultant for the One Cranston Health Equity Zone. I am also representative on the Youth Opportunity Zone as the statewide coordinator for STEM Advantage. And I'm going to let Roberto introduce himself and get us started with our presentation on the survey.
Do I have permission to share my screen?
You should. Do you have the
Do you have the
share
icon on the
button?
Yes. There's something happening with my computer. I'm not unable to share my screen. Miss Caitlin, can you share your screen?
Absolutely.
It's working.
Awesome.
All right. My name is Roberto Catoni. I'm the co-chair of Youth Opportunity Zone and chairman of the Bleeding Edge Youth Committee. The One Cranston Health Equity Zone, also known as OC, has a mission to advocate and collaborate for policies, programs, and mindset that will create a healthier and more equitable Cranston. With the help of the subcommittees of OC Has and the Youth Opportunity Zone and some group, we work towards increasing access to equitable after school and out of school time programs in Cranston. Obviously, with COVID-19, camp from 2019 looked different from 2020 when it came to capacity, participation, and cost. We sent a survey to all Cranston families in order to identify their needs this summer, and we received over 275 responses from those families. We asked the families which neighborhoods they lived in. Within the 3 weeks we administrated the survey, we pushed out it via Facebook, Cranston Public School emailing list, and Cranston Public School principals, as well as our own program families. And now Ms. Caitlin is going to dive deeper into the survey and our collaborative efforts.
Thank you, Roberto. So here we see in our survey that many of our youth, to no surprise, were younger between the K through 5th grade range because they are more dependent on programs. However, we also see a large need from our middle schoolers and some requests from our high schoolers that are really just looking for safe places to be this summer to learn and socialize. We asked our families to talk a little bit about what they needed as far as an implementation of their camp. Last year when COVID hit, a lot of our programs had to calibrate. Some of us, unfortunately, were not able to open. Those of us that were switched to either a virtual implementation or in person, but at a significantly different capacity. This year, we're seeing a large number of our families needing in-person care because they are back to work. A lot of our families elected to fill out an optional question where we just asked them to share their story with us. 25% of our families really highlighted the need for equity and access. 50% of those families mentioned the need for flexible programming in order to go to work. And unfortunately, 25% of those families really highlighted the fact that they are unsure or concerned about being able to afford summer camp this year, knowing that they still need it. Naturally, we see some big differences between our program's collective capacity between 2019, 2020, and what will be this year of 2021. We are anticipating seeing a large need for in-person summer camp this year, higher than even 2019. However, due to the COVID challenges that we are all still facing and living with every day, as you can see, our capacity is still a little limited, though we're really trying to push to work together to expand those opportunities as much as we can. That is what the Youth Opportunity Zone does every day in collaboration with one another. We also kind of put together like an emergency summer response group to really hone in on the results of the summer data report and figure out how can we all collaborate with our assets and our strengths together to expand our capacity and our programs in order to give every Cranston family the opportunity to go to summer camp this year if they so choose. So we came up with a plan. There's 6 items here. I would really like to highlight number 6. We just recently voted that $10,000 of our funds is going to go towards scholarshiping our Cranston families so that some of them can be able to attend our collective Cranston camps. Roberto and I tried to just pick some of the main highlights because we know it's, time is a factor. So if you would like to see the full report, I will share it in the chat box, but you can also see the link here with the full detailed report from the entire Cranston summer survey results. And we would just like to thank you guys again for having us tonight. We're really looking forward to working with you all to collaborate in order to expand opportunities for our families here in Cranston this summer.
Thank you very much for your presentation. Any questions from council members? There being none.
Just wanted to say thank you through the chair, Caitlin, for the presentation and the time and the patience to come before us this evening and share that information with us.
Absolutely. I will email you all with the PowerPoint with the link because I realized I can't really put it in the chat.
Sounds good.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Enjoy your evening and thanks for hanging out with us tonight.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Councilwoman Vargas, for putting this on. Moving on, any other council member communications? There being none, we'll move on. Council business matters carried over. There are none. We have introduction of new matters before the council. I am a sponsor of 2 items on here. I'm going to pull my sponsorship on them. They need a little bit more work and to be amended before I put them back in. So 421-01 and 421-02. I'm going to withdraw at this time, and we'll resubmit next month for new business. That being said, I need a motion to send all of the new matters before the council to the proper committees.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
Any discussion? There being none, clerk, please take the roll.
Councilwoman Marino,
Yes.
Councilman Ferry,
Yes.
Councilman Mazzulli,
Yes.
Councilwoman Vargas,
Yes.
Councilwoman Jermaine,
Yes.
Councilman Donegan,
Yes.
Councilman Riley,
Yes.
Council President Paplaskas.
Yes. Okay, going back on the docket, I will entertain a motion to go into executive session to discuss the legal fees report.
So move.
Second.
Under discussion. There being none, clerk, please take the roll.
Councilwoman Marino,
Yes.
Councilman Ferry,
Yes.
Councilwoman Mazzulli,
Yes.
Councilwoman Vargas,
Yes.